I walked through the damp, foggy streets, my mind swirling. So much content, so many podcasts. How do I find the best? Then it hit me, like a big blue neon sign flashing through the mist. Blueberry. All I had to do was drop the E's and go to blueberry.com. Blueberry, the digital media interface for consumers, creators, and advertisers.
Settle down. I have a brief statement to make, and I'm not anticipating taking any questions. As you saw, this was the 7th game of the World Series, so there's no tomorrow, so to speak. And yes, when the game reached the bottom of the 9th inning, we, being the home team, had a chance to close in on that 11-0 deficit we were facing. Unfortunately, we couldn't even get a runner on the base, so the scoreboard read 11-0 after 9 innings. I appealed to the umpire, the head umpire, and asked is putting it politely, demanded one more inning. Because I know my boys have got it in them to hold the other team scoreless and then go out and score 12 runs. They've done it before. They've scored 12 runs in an inning before. No reason why they can't now. The head umpire said, "No way, Jose," and that's not even my name. He said, "You played a 9-inning game. You came up short, 11-0. This is Game 7 of the World Series. You've lost. The season's over." Well, I'm not satisfied with that answer. So I will take my complaint to the commissioner of baseball, and I will say that we played this game in protest because we were not given a fair chance to win the ball game by scoring 12 runs in the 10th inning that the umpire should have allowed. I said I wasn't taking any questions. Get out of here. I gotta set up a meeting with the commissioner. Sending that Hoge guy. Need to have him write a brief legal.
Voiced your concern, and I think I oh, yes, your butt hurt. You're really butt hurt. A little butt hurt. Like a little baby with diaper rash. You kick and cry and scream because your butt hurt. You're truly butt hurt. Oh, yes, your butt hurt. And your popping flesh is full of sand. They get so tired of losing that they have to hate the winners, and then they're full of butt hurt, just like you. Well, your butt hurt. Oh man, you're really butt hurt. It's epic butt hurt, and no matter how much cream you use, your rear end always stings. Oh yeah, your butt hurt. Oh, it's epic butt.
Well, you think you've seen every kind of butt hurt there is, and then you realize you ain't seen nothing yet. That's how it is in these end times.
Daily Show, CNN, GOP is not your friend. Christian right sitting tight, making other folks fight. When this hurt, Huckabee, no thinking, ass thinking. Watch a Sharia law, even in Arkansas. Kill a Muslim or a Hindu, what's the difference? Make a deal, fuck you. Uh-oh, this means we lose. Nominee, not for me. Why choose? Testament the lies. Offer me some respite, offer me quietude. I decline. It's the end of all days as we know them. It's the end of all days as we know them. It's the end of all days as we know them. In these end times. These end times.
Yes, these are the end times, and I'm your host, Bill Schmalfelt, and these clearly are the end times. Given the way some people are acting. Just to let you know, I got a special treat for you today. My late twin brother Bob and I wrote a play together back in 2003, 2004. He died that year of a stroke. And it is now an audiobook. And I'm going to share with you some of that audiobook later on in the show today. I thought that by being found not guilty on a charge of violating WJJ Hoge III's peace order that I was done with him. I've got an outstanding lawsuit that a judge is sitting on. He got Hoge's motion to dismiss almost 3 weeks ago, and he hasn't acted on it yet, at least to my knowledge. But that was, that was it. I thought I was done. Turns out I'm not. You see, here, I thought that the next time I'd see Hoge in court would be as a spectator on May 14th, when he answers Brett Kimberlin's appeal of the peace order Brett is looking for, alleging that Hoge stalks teenage girls, namely his daughter, who we shall leave nameless. But what kind of guy does that?
Sitting on a court bench, eyes a teenage girl with bad intent. Poop is caked into his beard. Stubby fingers scratch his scabby head. Hey, Hoggy man, dying from his bad heart. Skin made gray from hate and lack of sun. Hey, Hoggy man knows that he's a dead duck, spitting out clots from his rotting lungs. Oh, Hoggy man, so freaking old. A sick man wastes his last days, spending time the only way he knows. Chest hurting bad as he staggers to the courthouse. He wants to try once more his foe to beat. Leave her alone, that's all her father asked. Forget that we exist and just let us be. Hoggy man, you fool, Don't you know that you're a loser? You foolish dolt, the truth won't set you free. Do you still remember the last time you went to court? When you thought that just your lying word would your opponent thwart? And you sit in startled silence when justice reared its head, and the judge said he's not guilty in the least. So freaking old, a sick man wastes his last days, spending time the only way he knows. Chest hurting bad as he staggers to the courthouse. He wants to try once more his foe to beat. Oh, leave her alone, that's all her father asked. Forget that we exist and let us be. Hoggy man, you fool! Don't you know that you're a loser? You foolish dolt, the truth won't set you free. Oh, yeah. Hoggy man, you fool! Don't you know that you're a loser? You foolish dolt, the truth won't set you free.
No, it won't. The truth is your worst enemy.
Sitting on a court bench, eyes a teenage girl with bad intent. Poop is caked into his beard. Stubby fingers scratch his scabby head. A hoggy man died from his bad heart. Skin made gray from hate and lack of sun. A hoggy man knows that he's a dead duck, spitting out clots from his rotting lungs. Ooh, hoggy man.
Have you seen the little hoggies crawling in the slime? Sad for all the little hoggies running out of time. Paying for your crime can lead to butt hurt. Have you seen the daddy hoggy in his nice bow ties? You will find that daddy hoggy's running out of lies, nearing his demise in profound butt hurt.
In their styes with all their shucking, they don't care what goes on around. With their lies, you see them sucking what they got's a damn good fucking.
Everywhere there's lots of hoggies with their hoggy lies. Even Hoggy's giant boy child with his chafing eyes, hoping daddy dies while he has money. One more time.
Daddy, they did a song about us.
Be quiet, you fool!
Ow.
Ever since I won the court hearing, ever since the judge declared me not guilty of violating Hoge's peace order, you would think it had the opposite outcome. Hoge has been going on and on and on all weekend long about how I was guilty of this and guilty of that, and how the judge's decision was wrong-headed. And Grady on his Thinking Man Zombie blog has been going on, and how I'm the stupid one for winning the case. And it's just sick-making. It's absolutely sick-making. And just when you think you've reached the bottom of the rabbit hole, you get something like this in the mail. Now, let me remind you again. Hoge took out a peace order against me, against my knowledge, after telling me he was not going to pursue an appeal. He went and pursued it anyway, on August 27th, 2014. I just kind of let it go. I figured out, I don't want to talk to the son of a bitch anyway. So, but then on February 13th, he mentioned on his blog that his wife had cancer. So I weighed my options. Should I do this? Shouldn't I do this? And I decided that the human thing to do would be, as a former employee of the National Institutes of Health, who still has friends who work there, to get him at least some email addresses, some websites he could look at, information about clinical trials. I thought the worst that would happen would be, we got it covered, leave us alone from now on. But nope. Very next day, Hoge's in court getting a peace order violation charge against me. I was tried on February 16th and found not guilty. As a matter of fact, the judge determined that since the peace order was given a term of 1 year, and a peace order can only have a term of 6 months, which can then be extended for a year after a hearing with good cause, that the peace order was invalid from the moment it was issued. And even if it hadn't been invalid, there was no mens rea in my action. There was no criminal intent in my email to Hoge offering information on where to get cancer resources for his wife. There was no intent to bother, to harass, to frighten, so the judge found me not guilty. End of story, right? Well, like the baseball coach there at the beginning of the show, I'm just going to read this, and I'm going to leave it for others to comment. By the way, I'm going to give you a case here. This case is closed. This is a closed case. William John Joseph Hoge, petitioner, versus William M. Schmalfeld, respondent. There is no such case. It is listed on the Maryland case search as closed. But Hoge wants his 10th inning. Petitioner's motion to modify and extend the peace order. Comes now petitioner William John Joseph Hoge and moves this court to modify and extend the peace order granted in the above caption matter. In support of his motion, Mr. Hoge states as follows. The peace order, as issued by the court, appears to have a scrivener's error. To you and I, that would be a clerical error, which set the term of the order at 1 year instead of 6 months. The order should have expired on... I love the way he dates these things. Like it's just so ostentatious. 27 February 2015. Respondent has continued to violate the order. And there we pause for a moment, and I say, no, I have not. I have been found judicially acquitted of that. He filed a contempt of court motion against me, and the judge said there was no contempt. So, I have not legally or technically violated a peace order that didn't exist in the first place. We continue. There has been additional contact with and harassment of Mr. Hoge by a respondent subsequent to this court's hearing petition for contempt. Yeah, there's been contact. We've stipulated to that. What was the harassment? What harassment is he talking about? I haven't harassed him. I haven't harassed anybody. Based on respondent's admission in open court on 16 April 2015, Judge Effinghouse Jones found that respondent contacted Mr. Hoge on 13 February 2105. Yeah, that's what it says, 2105. In violation of the order. No, she did not find that. She did not find that my contact was in violation of the order. Hoge just lied on his motion. He said that she found I had contacted him in violation of the order, and there was no such determination. However, she found him not guilty for lack of criminal intent. Here's the good part. Given respondent's history of continuing contact and harassment, which has neither continued nor been harassment, it is unlikely that he will obey the district court's warning to cease contacting Mr. Hoge. Mr. Hoge forgets to mention the judge also warned him to leave me alone. She said, you leave him alone, you leave him alone. But when you only want to talk about part of the story and you only want to talk about the part of the story that makes you the hero, well, there are lies to be told, and he doesn't mind telling them. Conclusion. Wherefore, Mr. Hoge asks the court to modify the existing peace order to show an expiration date of 27 February 2015, and to grant an extension of the peace order until 27 August 2015, and for other such relief as the court may find just and proper. Well, here's the problem with that. A, there was no legal peace order. The moment it was issued for 1 year, it was an invalid order. Now, if I had been there, instead of having been lied to and stayed home or went to my doctor's appointment like I was scheduled to do, if I had been in the courtroom, I would have pointed that out right away. They'd have gone downstairs, they'd have made the connection or the correction, and they would have had a valid peace order. They did not have a valid peace order, and I think Hoge knew this. I think that's the reason why he never posted this peace order on his Scribd account. Oh, he posts his lunch orders on Scribd. But for some reason, this peace order never showed up anywhere. I even kind of asked around, does anybody have a copy of this thing? I must have just thrown mine away in disgust, but nobody seemed to know where to find a copy. So when the assistant state's attorney told me that she had a copy, I said, well, I'd like to see it. And sure enough, the term of the peace order was set for 1 year, and that's a no-no. All right, that's one. Two, if we play this at its most liberal level and grant that it was a valid order, it wasn't, but let's just grant for a moment that it was a valid order. That valid order expired in just about 2 months, 7 days short of 2 months ago, today being April 20th, 2015. You cannot go back to a judge and say, oh, I forgot this peace order that expired 2 months ago. Wait a minute, 2 months ago. February, March. Yeah. Okay, 2 months ago. Can we extend it? No, you got to do that before it expires, chucklehead. God. And this is a grown-up. This is an adult we're talking about. And for any other such relief as the court may find just and proper, I'd suggest a nice little visit to a rest home to have yourself evaluated, because it's obvious you're nuts if you think a judge, any judge in the state of Maryland, is going to say, oh, he forgot to extend the peace order. And three, if the judge were to decide to grant Mr. Hoge's motion, there would have to be a hearing. You can't just extend a peace order because Hoge said so. Hoge am not law. Law am law. There would need to be another hearing, which, believe me when I tell you, is the last fucking thing Hoge wants. He does not want to ever have me in a courtroom again, because I will legally crucify him. And I'm not being what's the word? Hyperbolic there. I am not given to hyperbole in that sense of the word. If I go into another courtroom with Hoge, I'm going to use every weapon, legal weapon, at my disposal to put a stop to his bullshit. We'll let you know how this goes in the days and weeks to come. There are other little vegetables stewing in the pot that I can't talk about quite yet, but I believe they'll be done fairly soon. Ready for the stew.
All right, everybody simmer down. Simmer down, it's time for the briefing.
Guy sounds like the coach.
He said shut up.
Aye.
All right, then. We have some new directives sent down from headquarters. No doubt some of you have been following the news and you heard that the Staten Island grand jury came back with the no true bill against that brave Staten Island police officer what choked that big black fellow to death for selling cigarettes. And that kind of goes hand in hand with what we saw down there in, where was that again?
Ferguson, Missouri.
Oh, yeah, right. Ferguson, Missouri. That's by St. Louis there. This continues a trend that began in Florida when that Zimmerman guy put a couple rounds in that kid who was walking while black and wearing a hoodie. So the department, in its wisdom, says that we don't got to worry no more about shooting black people or killing them or whatever else since nobody else seems to care.
Are you saying that we got license to kill whoever black guy we want, Sergeant Gronkowski?
No, you knucklehead. They got to be committing some kind of crime first. Or at least you got to suspect they're committing a crime. Let me see if I can put it this way for you, make it a little easier for you to understand the complex nature of the situation that I am bringing to your attention at the briefing today. Grab his throat, and just like that, watch him drop down to the doorstep. Give yourself a treat, leave him dying there in the street. If a perp starts talking back, he will stop when he's been led swept. Put a toe tag on his feet, leave him bleeding there in the street. When a black guy you kill, know that a grand jury will never send out a true bill. Don't chase him, just waste him. There's no need to drop a gun. There's no need to concoct stories like a slab of meat. Leave him bleeding there in the street. Grab your Glock and bust a cap. That's community policing. Give yourself a treat. Leave him dying there in the street. He can't say he wasn't trapped with his temperature decreasing. You just made him obsolete. Leave him bleeding there in the street. They cry no justice, no peace, but all those protests will cease when their numbers decrease. They're looting, start shooting, and they'll finally learn their place. Peace and quiet, no more riots. Make them feel the heat. Leave them bleeding there in the street. All right, you bunch of chowder heads. Knock it off. Get out there on the streets and let's be safe out there, okay?
Drinking beer in a cabaret, and was I having fun? Until one night she caught me right, and now I'm on the run. Lay that pistol down, babe, lay that pistol down. Pistol packing mama, lay that pistol down. She kicked out my windshield, she hit me over the head. She cussed and cried and said I lied and wished that I was dead. Lay that pistol down, babe, lay that pistol down. Pistol packing mama, lay that pistol down. Drinking beer in a cabaret and dancing with the blonde. Until one night she shot out the light and God!
I know I'm fighting you, you son of a bitch! You think
God, I can't breathe!
Huh?
I can't breathe!
How about a broken heart? Huh?
The blood!
There's one in your brain! Huh? What are y'all looking at? Does anybody else want some of this? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. Nothing matters. Oh, it hurts so bad. I'm just gonna put the barrel in my mouth.
Okay, did anybody call 911?
I did.
Are they coming?
They said they were.
Okay.
Bill Schmalfeld here again. You're listening to In These End Times. And as I told you toward the beginning of the show today, in a bizarre, almost cosmic turn of events, myself and my dead twin brother have joined hands across the Great Divide and have published a new audio book. It's available on Audible, Amazon, iTunes, and God knows where else. Maybe Bob knows, since he's been in heaven so long, but he's not sharing details. It's called End Times, a comedy in 2 acts, and it's just what the cover says it is. It's a comedy in 2 acts, and it's a play written by Bill and Bob Schmalfeld. First names decided by alphabetical and birth order. See, I had an idea for a book in 2003 while I was working for XM Satellite Radio and living in New York. As I started writing the book, it seemed like it wanted to be a play instead of a book. I thought, well, here's another chance to work on a project with the Bobber. I discussed the idea with him. He glommed onto it quickly, and at the time, you see, Bob was a lay Methodist minister. So while he wanted it to be funny, he also wanted the historical aspects, or what's the word I'm looking, prophetic aspects of the end times scenario, as some have interpreted it in the Bible, to be as accurate as possible. So I told him to piss off, and I began looking for another co-author. But as Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber were otherwise occupied, I decided to give the Bobber's idea a try. So we worked on the book, and then it turned into the fact that the play seemed to want to become a musical. So we fancied ourselves as okay comedy writers and lyricists, but neither one of us could compose a song if some guy in a striped shirt and burglar mask held us at gunpoint and said, "Write a song, you mugs, or the Goyle gets it." So Bob wrote a slew of lyrics for the things, which appears in the print copy of the book. which has been available on Amazon and iTunes. Let's see, where else? Barnes & Noble. Any place you can buy an online book, you could buy a copy of End Times. But nowhere in New York could I find a composer willing to put his career on the line by writing the little black dots for this thing. And I talked to composers living in dumpsters. Honest to God, dumpsters. On 8th Avenue, for Christ's sakes. Well, we finished writing this thing in late 2003, and then Bob had a stroke and died in 2004. I assume the two events are unrelated. I finally got around to self-publishing the book in 2010, and it just sort of sat there till I started working with ACX. That's a company that works with aspiring independent authors to create audiobooks, mostly sold at Audible and at other places. So I placed the book into the Open for Auditions file on ACX, and ere long, several talented audio technicians calling themselves Silverton Audio, which is a classy name for a bunch of 8th Avenue dumpster dwellers, if you ask me, but nobody did. They took the script and did something to it I never imagined could happen. They made it funny. I mean, really, honest to God, funny. This talented team of David Baroff and Sherry Grenader and Bob Hughes, Kim Holmes, that is, Alex Levy, Marie Odell, and Sam Smith. These guys bring the characters to life. The Antichrist, Joshua Moloch, is played with an otherworldly coldness. Pope Lukash, who becomes Pope by murdering the previous Pope, who is known in the credit as Previous Pope, he drips comedy like spilled communion wine. The hero, Alex Swanson, is bland and clueless. His co-worker, Nancy, is as dim as she is pretty, and boy, is she pretty. Sister Sophia heads up the Antichrist resistance movement, and an unlikely assassin takes Moloch's life. But he rises again in 3 days, according to the diabolical prophecy. Presidents, popes, reporters, Satan, Jesus, the struggle versus good and evil, all boiled down into an end times broth of rich, tasty goodness that you're gonna want to eat with a spoon so you don't miss a drop. Ladies and gentlemen, I present for your entertainment the first 3 scenes of End Times, a comedy in 2 acts by Bill and Bob Schmalfelt, as performed by Silverton Audio.
Silverton Audio presents the unabridged recording of End Times, a comedy, written by Bill and Bob Schmalfelt, performed by David Baroff, Sherry Grenadier, Bob Hughes, Alex Levy, Kim Holmes, Marie Odell, and Sam Smith. This performance is dedicated to The Bobber, January 4th, 1955 to March 19th, 2004, in the hopes that your assurances were accurate.
Act 1. In the living room of a suburban New York apartment, there are suitcases piled near the door. Alex's mother has a small suitcase in her lap and is checking to see if everything is there.
For Christ's sake, Ma, your plane leaves at 4:30.
Mom continues rummaging through the suitcase.
So we have plenty of time then?
Actually, no, we don't. We're at Code Orange, remember? You gotta be checked in 2 hours in advance of your flight. They need the extra time to rifle through your undies to make sure you're not a terrorist.
Mom snaps the suitcase shut.
Like I could be a terrorist.
She rises, leaving the suitcase on the couch.
Like they couldn't take one look at me and feel perfectly safe letting me on their plane.
Mom stands, looking around the living room to see if there's anything she's missed. Alex walks to the couch and picks up the suitcase.
You can't be too careful, Ma. In fact, I've heard that Al-Qaeda is specifically recruiting little old ladies from the New York suburbs for that reason. No one would suspect them.
Mom turns and takes one of Alex's hands.
I promise you, dear, if Al-Qaeda asks me to join them, I'll say no.
She kisses him on the cheek. Alex adds the suitcase to the pile by the door.
We'll all sleep better tonight knowing that, Ma. But for God's sake, could you please shake a leg? We gotta get going.
Mom stops, puts her hands on her hips.
You know I dislike it when you take the Lord's name in vain, Alex.
Alex smiles.
See? You are a fundamentalist terrorist. Can we go now?
Mom takes a sweater from the back of a chair and puts it on. Alex opens the door and grabs another suitcase.
Always in such a hurry.
She walks toward the door and stops suddenly. Alex, already halfway out the door, turns around in exasperation.
Christ almighty, Ma, now what?
Mom gives him a stern, I'm not kidding look.
Your mouth, you!
She softens.
I forgot the present for your Aunt Sally. It's in the closet. I'll take just a sec.
Alex rolls his eyes and drops the suitcases. Mom turns and walks to the closet, opens the door, and steps inside, partially closing the door so she can no longer be seen by the audience.
If it takes any longer, Ma, you'll be taking a bus to Toledo. I swear to God, I'll take you to the Port Authority terminal and just leave you there. You know the kind of people waiting for you at the Port Authority terminal, Ma? Not nice people. Smelly people. And they'll all want to sit on the bus right next to you, Ma.
From inside the closet.
Smelly people don't bother me, dear. I was married to your father for 35 years, and he was hardly the most fragrant.
She stops abruptly. Alex stands, waiting for her. After a few moments.
Okay, so Dad had a little problem after eating spicy foods. So? That made him a bad person?
He waits for a response. There is none.
Ma? The clock's ticking, Ma.
Waits. No response. He walks slowly towards the closet.
1 more minute and it's the Port Authority, Ma.
Now he's concerned. He strides to the closet door and flings it open. Mom is nowhere to be seen.
Huh? Ma?
Scene 2.
In the Pope's chamber in the Vatican, the Pope is dozing on a large chair as Cardinal Lukács enters.
A bit too loudly.
And how does His Holiness feel this morning?
Startled awake.
Huh?
Blinks, looks around the chamber, and is startled again when he seeks Lukács.
Huh?
Jesus, is that you? Is it time?
Lukács smiles benevolently.
No, Holiness, it is Cardinal Lukács, your papal nuncio. I've been your papal nuncio for 12 years. We go through this every morning.
The Pope smiles, then his expression darkens. He beckons Lukács to lean closer. He whispers, in French,
Les singes volant mes pajamas.
No, Holiness. Monkeys are not stealing your pajamas. The Swiss Guard would never allow such a thing.
The Pope seems reassured by this.
Frankly, Your Holiness, we are in quite a state of turmoil these days. People are turning to the church for answers. It's been weeks since the mysterious disappearances. People are looking to us for spiritual leadership, Your Holiness. This is a time for decisive action. This is a time for the church to be strong, to bring the world into this new age, heralded by these sudden disappearances.
Confused again, the Pope feels his face, opens his vestments, pats himself down, and shrugs.
Huh? Huh?
Everything is still here.
No, Holiness, the disappearances. Millions suddenly vanishing from the face of the earth. Some are calling it the rapture.
The Pope frowns, his face furrowed with concern. He brightens. In Portuguese.
Bote truth came in a bicicleta?
Lukács shakes his head solicitously.
You will not be needing your bicycle today, Holiness.
The Pope is agitated. In German.
Why kann ich nach Amerikan on mein Fahrradgennen?
Lukash's patience is wearing thin.
You do not need a bicycle to go to America, Holiness. You are not going to America, Holiness. The Church needs a strong Pope in its hour of crisis. The Pope must issue a statement saying that what happened across the globe recently was certainly not the rapture. We don't know what it was, but it was certainly not the rapture. We don't believe in the concept of millions of people being whisked off of the planet by God. The Pope is God's representative on earth, and if God had something like this on his agenda, he certainly would have said something about it to you, right?
The Pope considers what has just been said. He smiles.
Maybe it's, how you say, a surprise?
Lukash is barely able to contain his impatience.
Yes, Your Holiness. God is planning a surprise party for you. For when you die and go to heaven, everyone who has disappeared will jump up from behind a great big cloud and yell, "Surprise! You're dead, you idiot!"
The Pope wags his finger at Lukash, but never loses the smile. Lukash takes the Pope's hand in his. After a second, the Pope reacts violently and pulls his hand away. In Italian.
Ciao è uno molto bella gonna. Il mio bambino me la qualcosa dovrebbe indossare più formale se si essere una festa di sorpresa per il suo papà.
This is not a pretty dress, and there is not going to be a surprise party, Holiness. These are the garments of a cardinal in the Holy Catholic Church.
Growing weary.
Cardinals. Yes, pretty cardinals. Pretty birds, but they are thieves. They steal what does not belong to them. It's God's plan.
Dripping with sarcasm.
Yes, God's plan.
The Pope nods.
What God? What plan? The world is falling apart, and still you stick to your tired notion of a loving God who cares for each person as an individual. Nonsense! I didn't get to where I am by believing in fairy tales, and I won't get to the top by anyone's power but my own.
The Pope reaches for Lukash's hem, shakes it a bit, then giggles as he releases it.
You know, I'm starting to think that the poison I put in your coffee every morning is scrambling your brains just a bit.
The Pope smiles broadly.
Yes, I want coffee. Coffee.
Lukash walks to the coffee pot along the wall, reaching into his vestment pocket as he does.
Yes, Holiness. A nice final cup of coffee.
As he pours a cup, he pulls a small bottle from his vestment pocket and empties it into the cup.
And we'll just ratchet up the dosage of poison. What do you say? It is your coffee, Holiness. Drink it all.
He hands the cup to the Pope. He takes a sip, then looks at the cup, then at Lukash. There is suspicion on his face.
Huh?
Then he wipes his lips on his sleeve.
Come now, be a good, senile, soon-to-be-dead Pope. Drink it all. The whole thing. Down the hatch so Cardinal Lukash can be Pope and we can put all this foolishness behind us.
The Pope smiles, then takes several deep gulps of his coffee.
Good, very good.
Interrupting in a sudden moment of clarity and lucidity.
Your plan has worked, my
shouldn't
son.
be so very...
Your poison has killed me. You'll undoubtedly be named as my successor.
Taken aback by this.
Your Holiness, you knew?
Calmly, without rancor.
I've known for quite some time. God is at work here, and I am his servant. My death is needed for a greater good.
Fumbling for words.
Greater good? Nonsense! Absolute lunacy! For the greater good, you say? Good for me, maybe, but...
You'll see. Eventually. Now if you'll excuse me, I think that I need to die right now.
Well, don't let me stop you.
The Pope takes one more sip of his coffee. In Spanish...
Bueno, la gota pasada.
Quite suddenly, he dies. Lukash removes the cup from the pontiff's dead hand and smiles.
Good to the last drop indeed.
He regards the dead Pope and smiles. He starts to hum quietly as he arranges the Pope's hands in a state of prayerful repose. Scene 3.
In the Oval Office, the President and his Chief of Staff are conferring.
How many of them were Republicans?
Well, Mr. President, the numbers aren't all in yet, but I think it's safe to say that a fair number of them were Republicans. We should know more later today.
Would you say half? Or half of them Republicans? After all, we're likely talking rapture here, right? Doesn't Scripture tell us that the rapture would happen largely to conservative Republicans, more so than to any other socio-economic or religious subculture?
You'd think so, Mr. President. That's why Robertson and the others are saying it probably was not the rapture. If it were the rapture, they contend, there would not have been so many Jews, Catholics, Muslims, Hindus, and other non-believers reported missing.
President considers this for a moment.
Robertson. Of course he would say it wasn't the rapture. If he'd been caught up in the clouds in the twinkling of an eye by welcoming glad to see you, Jesus, he'd be the first one on CNN saying it was the rapture.
Yeah, well, except for the fact that they wouldn't be here to talk about it.
The President is confused by that comment.
Pardon?
The Chief of Staff waits for the light of understanding to come on in the President's brain. Seeing that it won't...
See, sir, if Robertson were caught up in the rapture, then he wouldn't be able to talk about it on the television, because he'd be...
Now he gets it.
Ah, in heaven, with Jesus. Got it.
He stands and begins pacing around the room. The Chief of Staff is right behind him, stopping when he stops, continuing when he continues.
So it can't be a rapture then. So what was it? A couple million Americans vanished without a trace, and we can't even say it was God's will?
Well, sir, with so little to go on...
Interrupting and off on a tangent.
God's will. Best excuse ever. These two words have gotten this administration through some damn tough times. Earthquakes have raised large portions of Southern California. God's will. That big old meteor or asteroid or whatever the hell it was wipes out Denver. God's will. The economy's in the shitter. Well, maybe not God's will, but it was God's will that the Democrats held the White House for as long as they did, so God's got to catch some of the blame. The Pope drops dead. God's will once more. That's the sort of thing God in the state of Texas does them better than anybody. And that's see folks off to their eternal reward or punishment. New Pope, bright fella, speaks English pretty good. I like me a Pope when I can understand what he's saying. The other guy, the dead one, spoke lots of languages, but I couldn't understand a one of them. Not even English.
He wheels around, causing his Chief of Staff to stumble.
So where's that leave us? Millions of Americans no longer among the living, and certainly not among the dead, because you'd certainly notice a thing like a couple of million corpses if we learned anything from the last winter in Moscow.
The President walks back to his desk and sits.
And that was God's will, too.
The advisors sit on adjacent chairs.
God's been in quite a mood lately, ain't he just?
Yes, sir, especially with all the famines, pestilence, and earthquakes in diverse places.
Well, ain't this just a big old dog crap right on the rug? We gotta clean this up. We gotta clean this up right now.
He pauses to think a moment.
The problem, millions of people missing. The solution?
They went somewhere?
The President smiles.
You might be onto something there. We say they went someplace, but where? Where could a couple million people suddenly go without warning and not telling anybody?
We can't say, because it's classified. National security.
The President leaps from his chair.
Brilliant! We've swept more shit under the rug than with those two words and with God's will. We call it more of that war on the evildoers crap. Each missing person without us suspected of being an evildoer, or working with evildoers, or is just about to be harmed by evildoers, and we find out just in time. We nabbed them so quick it just looked like they disappeared. And we can't say where they are, or when they'll be back, because we're a code orange.
The Chief of Staff applauds, and the President takes a bow.
Sheer brilliance, sir. A master stroke of diplomacy.
We wrap it in the cloak of national security, then we cover it with a big old American flag. And then we say there might be more evildoers out there who might also suddenly disappear and we're out of the woods. National security.
Hasn't failed us yet, sir.
The president hits his intercom.
Get the press secretary in here. We're going live and nationwide.
The president motions the chief of staff to gather near and speaks in conspiratorial tones.
Here's the deal. We're going to start spooning shit and we got to make the public think it tastes like mom's gravy. Just like when we accidentally dropped that nuke on Duluth.
Fondly remembering.
That's right. You showed true genius when you blamed that accidental bombing on terrorists who'd enlisted in the Air Force just to strike at America's heartland. Of course, we had to wipe Milwaukee and Detroit off the map in order to make it believable, but you ended up smelling like a rose.
Like a great big bouquet of roses.
Big defense budget increase, approval for that war you always wanted to wage, and a second term for you.
We got through all those other difficulties the way we're going to get through this one. Dazzling display of patriotic leadership and enough bullshit to fertilize the Sahara. Now you know what we got to do tonight. Before we bring the cameras in, we got to gather our wits.
Wits?
We got to be sure of our facts.
Facts?
We have to tap into our military intelligence.
If you say so.
We got to take up all those assets and toss them into a big old pot, and we got to stir it up good.
The chief of staff races to several points of the Oval Office, feeding papers into fax machines, typing on the keys of a computer, shredding other papers, etc. Gurr used to do the work.
Stirring, sir.
You got to stir harder than that.
The pace of activity increases.
Stirring harder, Mr. President.
The chief of staff grabs a bag of shredded paper and dumps it out onto the president's desk.
When we get all that in a nice big thick batter like this right here, you know what we got to do? We got to analyze it.
Analyze it.
We got to sift through it with our bare hands.
Sifting it.
We got to hold it up to our nose and smell it.
I'm smelling it.
Are you smelling it?
I'm smelling it, Mr. President.
What's it smell like?
It smells, Mr. President, like bullshit, sir.
Get those cameras in here.
Get that camera in here.
President is ready.
He looks back at the president, who takes a seat at his desk. The chief of staff hangs up the phone and looks at the president, who is smiling widely.
10 seconds, sir.
The president continues grinning as the chief of staff runs to the spot where the camera supposedly is. He notices the smile on his boss's face. He waves to the president's attention.
Sir?
Through his grinning teeth.
What?
This smile, sir. You might want to...
Oh, right.
The president literally wipes the smile off his face, assuming a somber, sober expression.
Better. In 5, 4, 3...
The chief of staff shows 2 fingers, then 1, then points at the president. To the camera.
Good evening. No doubt many of you tonight are concerned about your missing loved ones. I, too, as your president, know only too well the emptiness and heartache of a missing loved one. Of course, as you know, my wife was not one of the people who went missing the other day, but instead, by all accounts, she's living with an owner-operator truck driver, going from truck stop to truck stop in our great and wonderful land, making mockery of our sacred wedding vows with anybody who'll buy her dinner. Different circumstances, to be sure. But I understand your anguish. I understand your grief. I feel your discomfort. Unfortunately, there are those among us tonight who would make political capital from your grief. There are those who, for their own small and meaningless reasons, would try to explain the disappearances by saying it was not only God's fault, but the fault of this administration. To them, we would say, look around you tonight. As your children sleep safely in their beds, those of you who know where your children are anyway, look at them, and know that this administration, this government, this president, cares for them all, and will do whatever it takes to keep them safe. For the children are the future of this great and powerful nation. Rest assured that as soon as we can reveal our reasons for this massive worldwide terrorist roundup, we will. But now, national security forbids. And those who would take advantage of this situation by putting doubts about the competence of this administration should just keep one thing in mind. We know where you live, too. So for now, keep a light burning in the window. For your missing loved ones. With any luck at all, we should have answers for you as soon as it's safe to do so. But for now, be vigilant, be smart, and stay prepared. Be alert, be ready, be watchful. But don't worry, the government is keeping you safe. It's what we do. Thank you, good night, and God bless the United States of America.
The chief of staff gives the "We're clear" sign. To himself,
well, that ought to hold the little sons of bitches.
He is joined by his chief of staff.
Well, pal, what do you think?
Well done, sir.
The president leans back in his chair and stabs the intercom button.
Yes, Mr. President?
Whiskey and blowjobs for all my men, Miss Peterson.
Right away, Mr. President.
And there you have the first 3 scenes of Act 1 of End Times, a comedy in 2 acts. I hope you'll buy a copy. It's dirt cheap. I think it's under $6. It's 2 hours of listening enjoyment that you'll never, ever get back. And you can get it at Amazon. You can get it at iTunes. And you can get it as part of a free trial membership at audible.com. Now, if you behave yourselves, I may play another couple selections over the next few days. But in the meantime,
night and day, you are the one.
And I know the route you take on your morning run. That device under your car, it tells me, darling, where you are. I'm stalking you day and night, night and day. And you don't know that my spy store camera sees wherever you go. From the Walmart dressing room to the walls here in my lonely room, well, you know, day and night, night and day, you cannot hide from me. With your insecure Wi-Fi, how I'm glad I can always see. Through your own webcam I peek as you undress and give me the thrill I seek day and night, night and day, night and day. I'd be your guy, and I'm tempted just to nab you as you walk by. It's not that I mean to scare, it's just that life is so damn unfair. I'm watching you day and night, night and day. How can't you tell? That's my deep and heavy breathing on your voicemail, on your Facebook, Twitter too. I want to kill men when they chat with you. I do it too. Day and night, night and day. I know you love me too. And today is the day that I'll finally walk up and speak to you. And my torment will be through when you live in the closet I've made for you. Day and night, night and day, night and day, night and day.
And now let's close the activities for today with a political commentary by me, Bill Schmalfeld. Hi, this is Bill. And if you get nothing else out of listening to this recording, I hope that you'll take away from it the fact that President Barack Obama is not a dictator. And I'm going to prove that to you. I'm going to prove that to you beyond the shadow of a doubt right here, right now. Let's listen to these recordings from Glenn Beck and Matt Staver.
He looked the American people in the eye, a guy who took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, and over again, looking us in the eye, he said he would use his executive power to get his way. He bragged about it repeatedly. I believe that every American should write in those diaries that this was the State of the Union, where our president declared he would become America's first dictator.
He is literally taking upon himself powers that are not conferred to the President of the United States. The President can't, through the executive order, just bypass Congress, and that's what he's doing. And this is reprehensible. This is a dictatorship. This is a fiefdom that he is doing, and he needs to be stopped. He needs to literally be impeached. We're continually calling for his impeachment. He has done one thing after another, where he has usurped power. He has not only done things that he has no authority to do, he refuses to enforce portions of the law or the entire law that Congress has put in front of him to enforce. He just simply thinks he is the king and the Constitution is a pesky document. This is a man that needs to be impeached. He does not deserve to be the President of the United States of America.
And when you have everybody fighting, and you have race involved, and people are scared, isn't this usually when a strong man steps in and says, I can fix it, please pray for the Republic? And so it begins.
Now, the truly sad part about all this is there are a lot of people who believe that argle-bargle. They believe that Obama is a tyrant. They believe Obama is a dictator. And I can prove he is not. If he were, those little radio speeches you heard there would have been a great deal shorter. In fact, it might have sounded something like this.
He looked the American people in the eye, a guy who took an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States, and over again, looking us in the eye, he said he would use his executive power to get his way. He bragged about it repeatedly. I believe that every American should write in those diaries that this was the State of the Union, where our president declared he would become America's first dictator.
He is literally taking upon himself powers that are not conferred to the President of the United States. The President can't, through the executive order, just bypass Congress, and that's what he's doing. And this is reprehensible. This is a dictatorship. This is
And when you have everybody fighting, and you have race involved, and people are scared, isn't this usually when a strong man steps in and says, I can fix it, please pray for me? And so it begins.
Think about it. Can you imagine for a moment a dictator, a tyrant, worth his salt, who would allow the airwaves to be used by people to criticize him? No president in recent history has ever suffered the criticism that Barack Hussein Obama has sustained, and I would say quite gracefully. No, my friends, I'm not saying America could never have a dictator. I mean, as a matter of fact, I would predict that within the next 10, 15 years, we probably will have one. Because as a people, we are afraid. We are shivering little sheep waiting for a strong man to tell us what to do. And that strong man may already be here. I mean, what about Ted Cruz? I think I heard one of those go right by my ear.
Daily Show, CNN, GOP is not your friend. Christian right sitting tight, making other folks fight. When there's heart, Huckabee, no thinking, ass thinking. Watch a Sharia law, even in Arkansas. Kill a Muslim or a Hindu, what's the difference? Make a deal, fuck you. Uh-oh, this means we lose. Nominee, not for me. Why choose? Testament alive. Offer me some respite. Offer me quietude. I decline. It's the end of all days as we know them. It's the end of all days as we know them. It's the end of all days as we know them. In these end times. These end times.
You've been listening to Indies End Times, a copyright podcast, largely performed by Bill Schmalfelt, and by that, we mean he's large, and he performs. Copyright 2015. All rights reserved. Check out the website, www.endtimestribune.com, and give a brother a holler on Twitter, @EndTimesTribune. Don't forget to get your copy of the sparkling new audiobook, End Times, a comedy in 2 acts, performed by Silverton Audio, written and copyrighted by Bill and Bob Schmalfelt. Until next time, this is your nameless, faceless announcer, asking all lickspittles, which of you will be next?
This podcast is part of the Blueberry Network. Blueberry.com is where listeners and podcasters come together. Check it out at blueberrywithnoease.com.